Hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, I brought in this mini myrtle. Needs a bit of a pruning again. It's starting to fill out completely. And I don't want it to get too strong up here, and then these branches down here get too weak. So I try to keep it pruned and keep it in check all the time. The little trees, you can see them, not sure if we can see them there. Let's have a look. The ones in there, they all look okay, don't need trimming. I think they'll be fine. So we just need to work on the big tree. Okay, so I suppose before I start, what I will do is I'll just take these guys out of the way for a minute. If you haven't seen this planting before, these are just little mini bonsai that I got online. I just made little stands for them. See, there's another one. This is a bit of fun. Okay, so I'll take them out. Men can probably see there. I'm just going to wrap this old towel around over the base, because this stuff, when you prune it, goes everywhere, and I'll spend hours collecting it all off the landscape if I don't do this. So okay, so now we can get on with the pruning. I go with my longer bladed scissors for this job, because this is just a kind of a hedge pruning kind of a job. One of these branches here is a couple of bits of it have died off. I did lose a bottom branch before, but I think there was a bird or something that snapped it, which meant I had to bend this one back, which means it's kind of going across the other ones, which isn't great, but that's all I could do to fill out that gap. The tree's too kind of mature now to try and start creating a back bud in it, I think. Not even too sure if they do with back bud too good. So as always, I'm kind of trying to concentrate on the gaps as well as on the actual pads themselves, creating space between each pad if I can, and that way it just miniaturizes it a little bit more. Not so much down here, but when I get up here I definitely will be. I don't mind the pads down the bottom being a little bit joined up, just to create bigger locking pads, but up the top I will be definitely thinning them out. I'm just going to go around the bottom first, do all the bottom branches. So that's kind of the bottom row done. Go around now to the next row if you like. So I can look down on it a bit more. So again, I'm just trying to create, just as you can see, different heights here. You don't want kind of perfect ball kind of shapes, you want to kind of vary it up a bit. And again, just go between. I always say that the gaps between the branches are as important as the branches, or between the pads are as important as the pads themselves. So that's what creates the kind of miniature look. I think this is one of my favourite trees. I don't know if I've said that before, because it's one I've had for quite a while, and I wasn't making videos when I got it, but it was basically a very ugly little twig, and that's why I think it's one of my favourites, just because I think it's into a really nice looking tree now, and I know what it started out life as. So it's kind of one of my most transformed trees, you might say. So that's kind of what makes it one of my favourites. I've looked for more of them, so I would like to, if I ever see one again, do another one, just because I do love it so much that it would be a shame if anything happened to it and I didn't have a replacement one. The branches can be quite brittle, and later if you lose a branch or you break a branch or anything, there's no real way of replacing it. I think it's one of my kind of most miniature looking trees. Has perfect size little leaves. I've managed to style the branches quite well, so that it has got a kind of a miniature look. And I think if I was for a tree in a show and I could only put one in, I think this would probably be it. I have older trees, I've got a lot bigger trees and probably better trees, but I think this one, I just think just looks, to me, in my eyes, one of the best I have. And the fact that I haven't seen another one anywhere, makes it a bit kind of different. This is my kind of favourite kind of way of growing bonsai. Something that actually looks like a tree, rather than, I mean, I've done and I have got real twisted junipers and, you know, that kind of thing. But this one, there's something kind of nice about a tree that actually looks like a real tree, rather than a distorted, twisted one that you get in the mountains or whatever. That looks okay, but I just like deciduous trees, and even though this isn't a deciduous, definitely looks like one. This is an evergreen, but it's got a great structure to it, apart from that one branch I had to bend backwards when it was younger, which was a shame, but I can kind of look past that now. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of separating each pad with my fingers and kind of pruning each one individually, rather than just going over the whole thing and making it kind of dome shaped. I want some to stick out a bit more than others and things like that. And like I said, I want to create the gaps in between them. And that's how you really get good kind of miniature looking. This one here now, I might be able to just separate into two. Let's have a look. So this is one big pad here, but we're going to clear out a couple of the branches from in here, and then we can just round the edges of this one, and then around the edges of this one a bit, and then we've created a gap and we've turned it into two pads instead of one. Like I said, it just helps make it look a bit more miniature. I know I've just planted in this kind of little garden, Chinese garden setting, but I do think one day this might end up in a more of a bigger landscaping kind of penging kind of thing, because here it looks like a small tree that you'd have in your garden or whatever, with the man and all that under it, but I do think it would look like a big old tree, and if I was to put that in a big tray, I could imagine that growing in the middle of a field or something, as a far off kind of a tree, rather than a tree in a garden than I have it now. You know, you can change the perspective of it by changing the landscape around it. You can make it look a much bigger tree but further away if I did a kind of landscape of it. So maybe one day that's where it'll end up when I've decided. I'm kind of sick of looking at it as basically a small garden tree. Okay, so we're just on to the last bit now up here. I'm just going to take out a couple of branches out here to create a gap between these two at the back, or the front, whichever it is. Okay, so that's more or less it. There's a few in here I can clear out. So just remember, when you're trying to make a tree kind of realistic looking and miniature looking, you've got to try and concentrate on the gaps as much as the pads. Create gaps in the pads, between the pads, and it miniaturizes the tree. I can take that branch out there, see, and that'll create a gap in here then. You see that gap? So it's made this a pad and this a pad rather than having it all joined together. Down here we can maybe chop this back a bit and this, just to create a small gap in between them there. Okay, let's have a look at it now. Trying to see whether I should maneuver one of these branches down slightly. I do like the kind of the big branch down here, and then you can see through to the branch structure above it and the trunk. I don't want it all kind of so it's like filled in. I like to have that kind of one big gap in it. Okay, so looks pretty good. Just try and make sure all the bits are fallen out of it before I take away the towel. So it's always a handy little tip if you've got a landscape and stuff and you're pruning your tree, just to throw something over it before you do, because you can imagine having to pick all these tiny leaves now out of it. Would be a bit of a pain. Okay, so let's clean this off now carefully. Some debris and stuff in here, and a few little weeds, we'll get rid of them. Let's bring the camera a little closer there now. I was thinking, was there anything else I could maybe add to this landscape? This little painting, it's only quite small, so there's not a lot of room to add anything as such, but I was thinking where I have this path, would that, you see all the leaves hanging off the cobwebs? Seems to be a thing this year with spiders, I don't know. Seems to be a lot of people that talk about them. There seems to be a lot of spiders around this year. Yeah, I was debating whether to get rid of this path and turn it into a little stream maybe. You can see the kind of, I don't know when you can see the path now because the moss is growing really well. But I have that little path there, but I do like it. I like the way the moss is growing over it. I'm not even going to trim it round off the edge of the pot because I like the way it's kind of bulging over like a, and it's doing well growing over these are imitation rocks that I made. The way it's growing over them, it's starting to really look natural. But I was thinking, would it be nice to have a little stream there maybe or something or what, but let me know what you think in your texts and your messages, if you think it'd be nice to have a little stream there. Or I was thinking of even putting like a little pond, like a little koi pond or something. Or will I just leave it to pass? So I do like the path, like I said, it's growing in well now and it's looking very natural looking. Okay, so we can put him back in. And put his little bonsai back in place. So we got one there. Did have to do a bit of work on this one the last time. Bit of a touch up on the leaves. Just painted the leaves a bit, kind of. Sun had bleached off the and this one bleached off the green. Okay, so I think we're done with this guy. I just hope, I've noticed that a lot of my moss and different trees have died off. On my hobbit house tree I had two lovely hedges built going into on either side of the path, and I clipped them and made them, and they looked really well. They were growing up nice and high and they were quite narrow and they looked really well. And then 2 or 3 days later I looked, and I was looking at them the other day, last week, and I was thinking how well they looked. And then a couple of days later I looked and they were just completely gone, dissolved away. I was thinking it was that had they dried out or what, but I'm looking at them and I think they've been eaten. Now I know millipedes eat moss, and I also know that moss larvae eat it as well, so I don't know if it's millipedes or moss larvae, but it's definitely been eaten by something, because it's not like it's shrunk and gone hard and dried out. It's like it's dissolved, or it's like it's almost been eaten from the inside. So it's definitely one or the other. Now, I know we do get a lot of little millipedes here as well. In fact, my neighbour had to put stuff down because they were all. He said when you go out in the evening, there was loads of them out his front door, all trying to get in. So yeah, we do get millipedes a lot. So I'm hoping they don't attack this moss, because it's starting to look well. That's normally when they seem to come and attack it. I'm just going to keep my eye on it and see if I see anything at all. Then I'll try and see if I can treat it. Okay, so I think we'll leave it at that for this video. Like I said, one of my favourite trees, and I do think in the future it might end up in a much bigger landscape with, I don't know, something going on as a tree in the distance. You know, if you can imagine it in the distance inside a field or something. Like at the moment it looks like quite a small tree in comparison to the person. It's like a tree you have in your garden, but if you can imagine that growing in the middle of the field a long way away, I think it would look good like that too. But for now we'll keep it going in this. So that should be over here, right there. So we'll leave it at that. So as always guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share on my videos and stuff if you can, help the channel out, and we will see you on the next one.